Hey guys, welcome back to the live stream for Gameweek 35. I did miss the live stream last week for Gameweek 34, but here we are anyways. Last week was actually quite nice for me, fortunately, even though I actually made the wrong move, so to speak. I've made two pretty bad deadline moves, I'd say, in comparison to what I could have done. So I think on the Gameweek 33 deadline stream, I benched Bruno, but that was just a net loss of 3 points. And then last week, net loss of 7 points because Bruno versus Grealish, and then Solanke versus Isak. But arguably, I'm actually more set up for 37 now because I have Isak. So that sort of means that I have a power play to make in game week 35 here, where I could actually go for an option like a Foden punt. And that's actually exactly what I'm looking out for with this live stream today. I'm going to stay and wait for some deadline news, go for Foden if I can. And then otherwise, you've got City defenders that could start. My issue really with City defenders this week is you're sort of betting on someone to start, and even if they do start, you've got a chance for Pep to actually rotate them off at 45 minutes. Whereas with someone like Foden, I feel like he actually has the chance to actually stay longer on the field because he's more than likely not going to be the starter in the Real Madrid game. So I can see him actually playing out almost a full game, which he hasn't really gotten the opportunity to do in a while. And he's had plenty of time to, of course, recover from his surgery, and we've seen him already in games scoring as well. And some features, of course, from early on in that FA Cup semi-final. So I do like Foden as a punt. Let's go back to the questions on YouTube chat. So Gothic Van Life says, "Hi Fran, do you think there's a good chance of these servers going down this game week?" Generally, I don't think so. I feel like even though we're going to get a lot of early team news and a lot of activity around the website, one thing as well is that Haaland seems to be starting. So there's probably not going to be crazy amount of news there. And of the people who actually own Man City assets or want to punt into Man City assets, that's much less than the server population when they have to react to some sort of Haaland benching. Of course, if Haaland does get benched, which I think is very, very unlikely, then you could see a crash. But for now, I don't think so. JP says, "Hi Fran, great rank rise in for you recently. Start Kepa Raya." So first of all, thank you, of course. I think I've been very, very fortunate with my rank rises. I've gotten a lot of green arrows so far. I think 6 back to back, and it actually makes me look back a little bit regrettably on game week 13 for me, where I made a really bad move that week, where I think I had a minus 450% rank decrease, and it's been quite a while to take me back up to these sort of ranks. So I feel like looking back, that game week 13 transfer, I did jump the gun and I played a very high risk move. I mean, you could even watch my YouTube video then. I had two options really, just to keep Kane and go for Ben White, and the rest would have been history. Or I could have just done what I did, which was go -4 for Darwin and Foden. Both of them were benched. Darwin not even in the squad, actually. And I got a 9 million game week rank taking a hit. You asked questions there. So start Kepa or Raya? I would actually say 100% I'd start Kepa. Personally, because I think Raya will concede to Liverpool. It's Liverpool at Anfield. The clean sheet chances are pretty low. Kepa doesn't seem super appetizing, right? Because Chelsea do seem like a horrific team, but you have to still contextualize the opponents. I would say this is a good opportunity for Kepa to do well, potentially get a clean sheet, which he hasn't been able to get recently. And that's sort of my punt on Kepa. The thing about Kepa and Raya, too, is that with Chelsea being a considerably worse team, you're actually seeing Kepa make quite a few saves. So if you look at the Brighton game, for example, Kepa got something like 6 points, even though he conceded, I believe, once or twice, right? So twice probably. And so you can see Kepa still is able to make saves now that this Chelsea team is much weaker than they previously were. As far as Raya, he can obviously make plenty of saves in Anfield, but you're sort of betting on Liverpool to have a really poor clinical finishing performance, which we've seen before in earlier times in the season. Even, for example, the Salah game versus Arsenal was a good example of poor clinical finishing, because even I think late in the game, even Darwin had a great one-on-one chance that Ramsdale saved. Konate had another chance as well. I just think that I'd probably bet on Liverpool to be, first of all, clinical, and that they're good able to get a result there. So I would bet on Kepa to start. Jota and Grealish, third City to Alvarez and Gakpo/Diaz. I don't like those moves because I think that it's too much of a punt, right, in two ways. What I don't like about Alvarez is that it locks you with a Man City player in the forward position. And so if we fast forward to game week 37, you have an opportunity there to go for triple Man City. But if you have Alvarez, and it's not likely that he's going to be a good asset for game week 37, you're going to have to force another double transfer out of Alvarez. And I prefer punts around the midfield or around the defense, because from Game Week 37, I think the best assets are actually all going to be within the midfield and the defensive position. So if you're going to do a double transfer, it makes sense to actually play them around assets that you already wanted to move transfers for. What's a good example of that? I've got Trent in my team. He could be Diaz on 37. I've got someone like Grealish in my team who could be Foden this week, but in the future, he could be a Fernandes, or he could even be a KDB if I'm able to make a lot of moves around the midfield, right? If let's say for some reason I don't want Salah that week and I want KDB and Fernandes, that could be a move that I could make. But if I go for Alvarez, then I have to actually force a forward transfer if he's not a good asset. And I do think there's a high chance that Alvarez might not get the starts in 37 that we want, so therefore he might not be a great asset. If you do think that Gakpo and Alvarez will continue to start all the games and you're really high on that, then go for it. But I think even Gakpo is not particularly someone that entices me that much on this specific week, particularly when you have some great punts in the midfield for Man City to go for, namely Mahrez and Foden. I've answered the Raya versus Kepa question, Crypto FPL, so I hope that answer satisfied you. Horse says he's very conflicted about keeping Kane versus buying Salah. No, you've got to keep Kane. The fixture's so good. It's Crystal Palace at home. This Crystal Palace team have been very consistent in grinding out results, but they have conceded goals as well. So with the exception to that Everton game, I mean, even West Ham were able to score 3 quite easily. JP says, how do you think Bournemouth-Chelsea game will go? Newcastle-Arsenal. I think Newcastle-Arsenal looks like a both teams to score game because this Arsenal team have dropped off a cliff, but they're not a poor attacking side, right? So Arsenal is still creating a lot of opportunities. They're only letting their opponents actually build more chances than they did previously. And you could actually see that on both underlying data and also in the goals conceded as of late. So that with the Gabriel doubt makes me feel like that's a Newcastle scoring game at the very minimum. I'm probably going to predict a Newcastle win, something like 2-1. Optic Avenger says, are you going to buy a Man City asset this week? If we get deadline news, then absolutely yes. Miller House says, who to bench, Watkins or Isak if Grealish starts? I think I'm still benching Isak. JWavy says, I sold Ake for Akanji and suffered for it. Should I? No, I would not go for Ake at this point because Akanji got benched last week. I think there's a higher chance that Akanji actually plays this week. Keep in mind, of course, that Ake is coming back from injury, so there's a high chance that Pep will probably rest and rotate him. Also, if you guys could like the stream as you guys are watching, I'd really, really appreciate that. Just to build a little bit more of consistency with the live streams as we end the season. And of course, I'm going to ensure that I'll be around live streams next season as well. Llewellyn says, hey Fran, good job on the rank rise. Isak/Wilson for Jota role. Interesting, because obviously you're probably alluding to the fact that Jota seems to be struggling with training a little bit, right, with the kind of spine or back injury. I don't really like a Newcastle attacking transfer this week, so therefore I would actually ask you to roll instead. I think that would make more sense. JP says his only positive for Raya is the Brentford low block, which will invite long shots. Yeah, I see what you mean. The thing is too that I think this Liverpool team are more than capable of actually carving this Brentford team. Like I think simply saying that Liverpool will be restricted to long shots is a bit of a reach in my opinion. They did struggle versus Fulham, that's correct, and I do think Brentford have a better defense. I do think that I think one thing to say though is that this Brentford team are a bit more worse away from home, and that kind of shows with how their underlying chances or underlying goals conceded, expected goals conceded really is a bit higher away from home. And so I do think that this Brentford team tries to hit teams on the counter, and that's also an opportunity for Liverpool to exploit in behind. So it's a weird thing, and I think of course you have to say that the creative ceiling of Liverpool is quite good. Yes, of course, there are one-game blips, so Liverpool versus Fulham, Liverpool versus West Ham, pretty bad games, and both those teams pretty much set up in a deep block. But I wouldn't give it against Liverpool to score, because one of the issues with that too is if Liverpool scores versus a low block, then it probably means that you're not going to get too many opportunities to get saved. And I still feel like this Liverpool team don't settle for long shots, so that's kind of the issue. Fionn says, hi bud, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Throwback's father, is it a bad thing if I got Zinchenko and Saka on my team? Any good replacement for him? I don't think Saka's a bad asset this week. I do think that Zinchenko is worth a transfer out. I'd probably think about Chilwell or a Man City defender if we get some leaked news on players to own. Diaz, of course, which Fionn mentioned, is obviously a great pick in that instance. Yeah, Diaz's return to the team has led to a more quality defense. I agree 100%. And that's what we've been saying all along, that he is the most nailed defender. Now, of course, Diaz could still get rested and rotated, which is unsurprising, obviously, based on how Pep operates. But I still think he's the best defender to pick, long term. I mean, it's really medium term now, right? Because we only have 4 or 5 game weeks left. So Steven says, never thought I would ask this question, but play Martinelli or Solanke. I actually quite like Solanke this week. So obviously, I've told people to actually play Kepa, but you've got to play the odds as well, right? There's a pretty good chance. There's, let's say, a 35% chance that Chelsea keep a clean sheet, but there's also a 35% chance that Solanke can score. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say every week I'm able to actually get the odds right, because that's why gambling odds exist. But clearly, there's a great opportunity here to play Solanke. And with Martinelli being benched in the previous week, I'm not actually sure I would like to go with Martinelli to start. Martinelli did look pretty exciting the last time I remember Newcastle played versus Arsenal, so that is something that's on my mind. But with Trossard coming in, that's quite tricky. TQ says, would you start Shaw ahead of Trippier? Yeah, I probably would, because I think Shaw's chances of getting a clean sheet are better than Trippier's. And of course, Trippier's plenty capable of getting an attacking return, so you kind of have to think about it in your head. Do I see Trippier getting an attacking return more, or do I see Shaw getting a clean sheet more? Ben C says, hey Fran, hope you're doing well, Ben. Crypto says, Jota to Wilson or Isak. I like the role. Answer the question on Shaw or Trippier. Horse says, should I keep Saka or have a suitable replacement immediately? So I like the idea of Saka to a Man City midfielder that we know is confirmed to start this week. Otherwise, I'd probably keep Saka, if we're being honest. Benching Grealish this week. It's spicy because I think Grealish is going to get benched. So it's a little bit of guessing game on my part. Fionn says he recalls Aston Villa beat Brentford 4-2 in Birmingham. Yeah. Shimley says, is there much point in me moving to Trent next week? It would be for Zinchenko. I mean, what's the point of moving to Trent next week? I'd rather move to Trent this week if you can. If you can't move to Trent this week, I can't even see why Trent would be a good transfer next week. Rio says, same midfield as you, but have Fernandes for Grealish. Is it worth getting Foden in? Nah, it's not. If you got Fernandes, just play Fernandes. TQ says, thanks. Thank you. Theon says, I have DDG and Shaw. I'm going Trip over Shaw just to cover. Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Because obviously with Shaw actually playing centre-back now, you're probably not going to envision many chances for Shaw to get a clean sheet. So I guess it's a good hedge in that sense, right? So that's not bad. Keymaker says, still don't have Trent. Rank drop from 22 to 26k. Defense at the moment is Shaw. Shipping out in Trippier. Can't get the Trippier in one FT unless it's for Trippier. One free transfer available. I mean, probably roll then, right? In that case. The thing is, I'd say obviously Trent has been super scary as of late, but your priorities next week should still be around Brighton, should still be around Newcastle. So I do think one of the weird things about people looking into Trent this week is it's not that good of a fixture for me to take a hit for Trent. And next week, I'm not even sure if he's a priority. So that's kind of my issue. I feel like the boat to go for Trent has kind of sailed. I don't know if you disagree. If you disagree, then obviously make some moves around it. But in your situation, I'd probably not take a hit this week. So therefore, it has to be a roll. JT says, would you bring in Isak or Wilson this week? I'd probably bring in Isak. I sort of mentioned about how I do think Isak will play more minutes. Now, of course, with Saint Maximin coming back, you could see the limits or the minutes being limited for Isak. But I prefer Isak as an option because I think he's also quite creative too. So he's got chances on the left wing to be quite a creative asset and get himself into bonus points. Whereas with Wilson, you are praying for a goal, and he does play slightly less minutes so far. You can just simply look at the FPL history, right, for Isak and Wilson as of late. Whenever Isak gets his benching, so to speak, he tends to actually play the next few games as a starter. So I would try to go off of that basis. I think he's very similar to Gakpo in that point of view. So I prefer Isak from that point of view. Whereas Wilson, I think he's come off the bench and he's done incredible things. Last week being a good example. But I like Isak more as an option. Horse, you actually made a lot of my worries disappear. I hope so. I mean, look, FPL is one of those games where you can only put out 11 players, and there's a pool of 25 players that are ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, you can't get everyone on your team. RT says, yo, Fran, what's good? Hope you've been well. Same to you. Nice to see you actually around this deadline, because obviously, probably early enough for you to actually get a little bit of team news and actually be around in the deadline and wake up on time. TB12, thank you so much for the donation. Hi, Fran, love your content. Is Martinelli starting? What is your opinion? Man, that's I would say it's a 50-50, and I'm really sorry because obviously I don't have Arsenal team news, but I would actually expect Martinelli to start, yeah. But I don't really like Martinelli even as a player to play this week. I think Newcastle's still a good defense. Yes, of course they've been conceding goals, but maximum I'd say probably 1 to 2 goals. They're also very, very good versus top teams as well. So I'm not exactly sure about Martinelli being a good pick this week anyways. I think a lot of people are going to have him on bench. And if you can transfer him out, I'd probably do it because this seems to be the avenue to do that. But anyways, thank you so much for the donation. Slyman says, Salah and Greenwood to Bruno and Wilson / Isak. I have KDB as well. I actually probably would not do that move. Reason being, Salah's got a fantastic home fixture. He's versus Brentford at home. Can't see the reason to go to Bruno. You would rather go for Wilson / Isak next week. So that's my preferred choice of transfer. I also think that, KDB is someone who's on your team who I'm not even sure that he's going to start himself. So I would be concerned about moving away from Salah, who's 100% going to play at least 80 minutes unless he gets injured for God knows what reason, into some variable assets. So I would rather get a week of information on your Newcastle players, probably roll in your position because you've actually got a very good team, particularly if KDB starts. So I would roll in your situation. Ben says, can you please check Twitter when I can? Yeah, absolutely, I will. Jaffney says, should I get -4 to get March, have Estupinian, Steele, and Matoma? Absolutely not. I can't see the reason to go into March. What about Son? I mean, I think Son's a good transfer, but why are we... So who are you transferring out to go to Son? Because one of my issues is KDB and Fernandes. These are two picks that will double in 37. So when can you actually reasonably go Son? At the same time, Salah has a great game versus Brentford. So he's a penalty taker as well, which is a huge plus over Son. So I can't really see the opportunity to go Son. I know he's been listed as a differential, but I'd still not really consider him that seriously. Steve, hey, hope you're doing well. You're in Madrid. Are you actually able to catch any games of football? Because I know last time around you said you were looking into maybe watching a few games. I hope you're able to do that actually. But wonderful to see you around. Haven't seen you on Discord much because obviously the account issues. But hope you're doing well and hope you're enjoying Madrid as well. Start Isak or Watkins? I'd probably go with Watkins. It's very close for me though. I'm going to make that decision if I go for Foden. So you'll see me probably make that decision. Katara says, hey Fran, hope you're doing well, Katara. We don't have any fresh team news on City, but obviously let's have a look at Twitter. I'll check team news and Tix, who's probably the only account that I'm going to be bothered about. Let's check his Instagram as well. So no news there. I mean, who else could reasonably leak City team news? I know Raptor's got good opportunities to do that. I mean, Sam is another player as well who could leak. Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem to be major news. I'll just quickly look at, obviously, chats, though. So, Yusuf, are you actually going Solanke and are you going to start him or are you just keeping him on bench? This project is retired, has 2 free transfers, 0.2 million in the bank, going from Burn to Tanganga / 0.8 million. I mean, what is the point of going out of Burn, though? Because you've got a Newcastle double next week, so you're forcing transfers away from them, which doesn't feel very, very fun. I probably wouldn't do that move, if I'm being honest. Because I feel like Grealish to Foden is actually not that sexy of a move unless it's comfortable for you, right? So you're going out of a Newcastle player to force that move. I would rather probably think, if let's say Mahrez started and Grealish was benched, I'd probably just go Grealish to Mahrez instead. Like, what do you think about that as a move? Because for me, it's a little bit different. I've got money in the bank, so I can actually go from Grealish to Foden very easily and then make moves in the future. But that's because I already have enough money in the bank because I own Steele, right? So that's been a huge plus for owning Steele as of late. But in your position, I'd probably just think about playing Watkins instead and maybe rolling too. That's another option. But I know you've got 2 free transfers. I'd probably think about making a keeper change, because I'm not sure if I like Raya or Kepa for this week. I'd probably play Kepa if I was being honest. Your team actually looks fantastic. It's hard to say what I would really do with it. I would say Grealish to Mahrez could be interesting. Yeah, that's the only thing I would say. Maybe a City defender as well, because if you get news that a City defender starts, that could be an opportunity to maybe move away. It's hard though as well, because I mean, look, you can't really afford Diaz, I imagine, with the strict money in the bank. I would probably just think about Grealish and Mahrez and I'd call it a day. It's so hard. Maybe Watkins into... what's interesting, right, is you could do... If you're benching Watkins anyways, 100%, you could do Watkins to a completely dead asset. saving you some money so that you can make some really strong moves on game week 36 or 37 or 38 whenever you plan to use the full strength of the 2 free transfers. That's one way you could do that. But I'm quickly going to go back to the YouTube chat. All right, so Faryaz says, why have you benched Grealish? I'm actually predicting that he starts he gets benched, so that's why I'm benching him. Lime to potatoes, Jota likely to not start due to injury. I think he's been struggling with training with a back injury. So my concern with Jota is actually minutes, right? So even if he starts, I mean, how much is he going to play? If he comes off the bench, how much is he going to play? Doesn't seem like a great asset to hold right now. RT says, haven't been as engaged with FPL since the restart, avoiding all Twitter. No, I got that, Arte. But look, let's hope you have a stronger push next season as well. I know a lot of managers this season who've been in those ranked territories, and I would have never expected that. But I think there's been a lot of variance really this season that's made it really hard for people to play around FPL this year. Some of the punts haven't been going as well as in previous years, and there's just a wide pool of options, right? With the budget for FPL being so great, considering the prices of players, it's been pretty much variance. Like, look at Steele. I mean, Steele's probably the MVP of my FPL team and the only reason why I'm getting green arrows. But if I didn't have Steele, God knows where I would be rank-wise. Eng7 Iceman, I don't really know if that's the right way to pronounce it. Is Botman and Wilson enough from Newcastle Gaming 36? Honestly, I'd probably say no. I think a lot of people seem to be on double Newcastle already. Some people are looking to get triple Newcastle. So you're going to be one player from a double game week down on most of the field. So I would actually say it's not enough. And that's kind of my personal opinion on that. Also, if you guys could watch the live stream, I'd really appreciate that. Sorry, what did I say? Watch the live stream or did I say like it? But please do like it if possible. You actually pronounced my name right. I hope I did. But obviously, if I ever pronounce any of your guys' names is wrong, please do let me know how to pronounce it correctly. But thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day as well. Should I start planning ahead and sell White for Botman/Shar or roll it? Look, planning ahead is planning ahead, right? Don't sell players that you want to get next week, or don't buy players that you want to get next week. What's a good example of that in FPL? So everyone went for Salah and Isak on Game Week 33. What happened? I mean, some pretty terrible stuff happened, let's be honest. But was there a need to move to Isak on that week? Was there a need to move necessarily to Salah on that week? No, right? Because the double game week was the week after. So if you really wanted to move to Salah, I mean, last week was the best week to do so. And the previous week that would have been great to go to Salah was Game Week 29 when Liverpool had a double then. So that's what I would always say to managers. Like, even though you like players for your team in the future, make sure you're actually transferring them in on the right week. Now, I'm not saying that there was 100% an easy chance for Kane to haul versus United and Salah to blank in his West Ham game. But what I'm trying to say is, was there a need to actually switch from Kane to Salah that week? Not really, because it wasn't that much different from each other. So obviously the results were much worse than expected, but also think about when you want to do those transfers. So I suggested, of course, Game Week 13, I made a terrible move for Darwin and Foden. I learned a lesson there, right? Don't kind of jump the gun in terms of transfers just because you like a player a lot. Like, at the time, it looked like Darwin was getting plenty of chances and was actually leading the Liverpool attack. But, I mean, he got injured. And then, of course, Pep did his thing with Foden. That guy says, running in late, what did I miss? Absolutely nothing. I think the only predictive news that I've seen is that Haaland seems to be nailed on for a start, but that's it. Theodore says, would you start Estupinian or Trippier? I'd start Estupinian 100%. Keymaker waiting to make the Grealish or Isak starting choice. Raptor said Haaland would start. Yeah, exactly. That's the only news that I think we've gotten collectively as a community. Steve says, yes, I was watching Barcelona Atletico, and amazing game to watch. Valencia Villarreal on Mestalla, and Tuesday I'm watching Real Madrid Manchester City in the Santiago. Mate, I'm so jealous of you, Steve, right now. That is incredible. That is an incredible set of games that you're going on. So super happy for you. Andreas replacement. It's tough here. Do you have extra money in the bank, Jaffney? Excuse me. Sorry, my voice totally cut out there. Andreas replacement. It's tough. I think at that sort of price, there's no one who's actually reasonably better. But I need to know whether you have money in the bank to actually make a better replacement move. Suresh says, Jota to Alvarez or Solanke. I like, look, I would do Jota to Alvarez if I had the money in the bank. Sorry, not the money in the bank, but actually the team news, right? It has to be based on the league. Otherwise, the Solanke move makes sense. But try to think about whether rolling would make sense too, because I don't think Solanke has a prime fixture. And of course, if you don't get the news that Alvarez starts, it's not worth the move as well. Dobber says the only City news is Big Sam. What hope do City really have? How that now that Leeds have Big Sam? Sorry, I just kind of corrected the grammatical accuracy of that sentence. Keymaker says, would you bring in a City defender, or spelling actually? Would you bring in a City defender in anticipation for the double coming up? Look, I think the only defender that's actually great is Diaz, but I would not bring in Diaz until I got assurances that he would start, because what's the issue with bringing in one of the City defenders, right? Stones or Diaz could easily be hooked off at 45 minutes. If let's say Dobber is wrong and Big Sam gets absolutely destroyed in 45 minutes of football, you could see once again Pep sub off both his defenders. Axis Shadow says, should I do Elise to Rashford or Grealish? Rashford, because Grealish could be benched. Is Botman Wilson enough for Newcastle? I don't think so. Personally, no. I would actually think about trying to get triple Newcastle. Keymaker says 4 game weeks to try and get into the top 10k. Yep, same for me. RT says my start ruined me, was stubborn and had Kane over Holland. Yeah, I remember that. I think that the learning point is, obviously, look, Kane is a world-class player, but when you're seeing a bit of an anomaly in action, you've just got to make the move, because it's not like no one needs to die on the hill, right? You don't get rewarded for dying on a hill. So, you know, whenever you see the hill sort of falling down, you've just got to jump ship. Why have I benched Grealish? I'm just expecting that he's going to be benched. Adam B says, I seem to have spent the week going between benching Grealish, Isak, Watkins, and Mac. Yeah, it's a tough one. You have to pronounce my name as a Mark. You have to pronounce my name as a Cockney accent. I'm not sure what that means. But if you could spell out, you know, the Cockney way of pronouncing your name, I'd happily do it, or happily attempt to. Saad says want to bench Solanke, March, Tony, probably Solanke or Tony. I'd probably bench Solanke. Katara says that's not sure what that's what. Oya King says, my G, hope you're doing well, Fran. I feel like you copy paste that intro line every week, but nice to see you around. Who do I bench out of Watkins, Isak, March, or Grealish? Bench one, basically. Also, I feel like Shaw could keep a clean sheet over Trippier. I mean, I would agree with that, generally speaking. I think it could happen. The Shaw clean sheet odds are actually higher than Trippier anyways. I would probably bench Grealish, because that's what I've done. That guy says, Al Madrid. Is that because you're supporting us versus City in the Champions League? That's a United fan, by the way, saying that. Eric Santanu says, sell Martial for Solanke first bench. I mean, if you want to sell Martial for Solanke first bench, I mean, what's the point of making that move this week? Why not just wait for the next week? La Cuenta says, Isak or Wilson. Isak for me. To be honest, I wish Haaland get benched. My rivals won't know about Haaland getting benched. I will captain Salah if Haaland bench. Yeah, that makes sense. I would probably do the same thing, honestly. Drink. What to do with KDB? I would keep him. I would keep him. Because we don't seem to have negative news on him specifically from Pep, and I'd probably think that there's a chance he starts. I'd wait for the news though, of course. If he gets benched or he's not in the squad, then obviously make a move around that, and probably go into one of the other starting City players in the midfield, because I can't really see any other punts being reasonable, assuming that you actually have double Brighton mid, Salah and Rashford. You could go Fernandes as well, but it's not a great fixture for me. Not a great fixture. Isak or Wilson, I've answered already. The chat's actually popping today, so thank you guys so much for the interaction. I really appreciate it. If you guys could like and subscribe, that would be lovely. I'm going to try and go through these questions a bit faster. Start Shaw or Kanji. I would go with Kanji. I don't think he actually gets benched 2 games in a row. Would I prefer Rashford or Bruno? Would I prefer Rashford or Bruno? 100% Rashford. Salas CH says, should I bring Steele or Estupiñán for the third Brighton asset? I actually like Steele a lot, because now that Ederson is getting rested, whatever that means, I didn't actually finish that sentence, by the way, or the phrase, but I would go Steele, because that actually saves you a lot of money in the bank, so I think that's good. So I think Mahrez is decent long term. I mean, it's not long term now, it's medium term, so so I would actually think Mahrez is actually quite a good punt. I would also think about Mahrez too. If let's say I didn't get Foden news, I could even just jump from Grealish to Mahrez if I know Grealish got benched. Trippier or Shaw, I think I like Shaw just a touch more, but it's very close. Team news ticks in 20 minutes. Yep, let's have a look. Wait for that news. Do you think March will start the next game, and should I bench him for Isak? I think he will start the next game. I can't see why he wouldn't, and I probably would actually bench Isak, to be honest, in that situation. And Ciso, Mitoma, or March, which two do I start? I'd probably start Mitoma and March. Robert says, please, what's your thought on KDB, bench or play? I would wait for the news in 20 minutes. I would play him for now. But then, if we get news that he gets benched, obviously you just bench him or even transfer him out. Fazley says, hopefully my double Liverpool defense and double City defense pop off. I'm just going to imagine that's what you said. It should work. Oh, you said works wonders. Yeah, that should be right. Is Haaland bench? I don't think so, no. It seems like he's actually set to start. Most people who predict Man City, even Raptor, who occasionally gets Man City news, has mentioned that Haaland will start. Stan J4 says start 2 of Stones, Chilwell, Trippier, and Shaw. I would start Chilwell first. I would then start Stones, but then wait for the news and then bench Trippier and Shaw. Now, if Stones gets benched, then I would actually suggest to start Shaw over him and play Chilwell. The one thing I like about Chilwell is he's still in the most attacking positions out of all these players, not including Trippier. But Chilwell also is a much better fixture from a defensive point of view, even though Chelsea's a horrific team. So that's my opinion there when we compare Chilwell to Trippier. Katara says, Akanji and Watkins to Shaw and Alvarez. I don't really love that move, right? Because I think Akanji has a high chance of starting. So what is your fear with Akanji, if that makes sense? Can't wait for leaked lineups to post a troll 20-minute video at 13. That would be horrific, mate. That would be horrific. That guy says, have some tabs open with your potential moves because the site will crash in 10 seconds after team news and text tweet. You know what? That's actually a great idea. Let's actually set up a transfer page for me. So this is my transfer page, right? What should I just have like multiple tabs for all my transfers? I've got my phone as well with me too, so if I need to go on the live app, I'm ready to do that as well. Because remember the last time we had a deadline crash, we needed the phones to make the transfers. So look, I've got Grealish to Foden. That's one move, right? I think that's the only move that I'm really going to do. Because what other news could be so crazy? I don't really like going Alvarez this week, if I'm being honest. Because I'd have to... I guess I could go Watkins to Alvarez, but that doesn't feel that good. Doesn't feel so good. So I've got team news and ticks over here. Madly ready to refresh. And yeah. I will be ready. You know that Jose Mourinho meme. Right, let's have a look at DMs as well. Oh, okay, because you're right. You want to go Wilson. You know what? Fair enough. If you actually want to go Wilson and Isak, I'm not going to begrudge that. That's actually a good way to go about it. So if you want to do that, that makes sense too. I'm actually happy with you doing that. Oh, that's a little group chat. You asked me to bring in Ake instead of Stones 3 weeks ago. Do you know what happened? Stones scored 2 straight goals in 2 game weeks while Ake was benched. Then Ake was injured and I took him out before the double week. He comes in the second game and scores the goal. I don't blame you, but you haven't made it easy for me. Probably the biggest bad... I mean, look, the thing is, I think bringing in Ake made sense then, but then he got injured, right? So that's tough. Look, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about the points, but I think... Unfortunately, Ake and Stones are both great assets. So, and as you can see last week, that's obviously a case in point. So, that's terrible. I'm sorry about that. All right, let me just quickly check notifications. Nothing crazy. I'd always start Trippier over Castagne because this Leicester defense is horrific. Let's go back to team news and ticks. Let's save that, put that on the side, wait for 14 minutes. I'm going to set an alarm for team news and ticks as well, quickly on my phone, just before I jump into the live chat. So timer, let's quickly set an alarm for 1:20. Because last week I was talking so much on the deadline, I literally even forgot about the deadline. Fortunately, I had my move set in place, so there's nothing to really talk about. But I've got my phone on the side. I've got my deadline alarm clock or my team news and ticks alarm clock ready. So let's go back to the chat. All right, let's see. So Ederson, Stones, Haaland to start. I would say so, but I mean Stones probably the one who might be dropped. Black Screen says, is Salah bad captain? Absolutely not. I mean, I would actually think about Salah captaining quite seriously. Sharif says Haaland bench or what? No, I think Haaland starts. If Grealish is dropped, start Martinelli, Trippier, me. Tough one. I'd probably start Trippier, but it's close between Trippier and Martinelli. Me is not even within my considerations. Noor says Mitoma, March, Grealish, which to bench, probably Grealish. Sharif says asking for Haaland, is he playing? I think Haaland starts, yes, 100%. Wartanesia, honestly, I have no idea how to pronounce that, but a bench one player, Mitoma, March, Watkins, probably bench Watkins. I think he's got the worst fixture. I mean, Everton at home is prime. Dobber says, I'm playing Everson over Kepa. You're a madman, but good luck. Mustafa says, I mean, Everson's actually made a lot of good saves. So when I was watching Leicester versus Everton, he was making some fantastic saves. He's terrible on the feet, though. Mustafa says, what do you think of Gundogan as a differential asset? I think he's a differential, but he's not a good asset. Life is tough. Why is that? Salah says, should I play Trippier or Solanke? Probably Solanke. Kataro, that's the FPL work. That's the breaks. Can't predict injuries. Yeah. Oh, right. So you're responding to Aki for Stones. I think the thing is, like, with Pep, it almost feels like if you ever go for a Man City asset, you actually have to hold them for multiple weeks because there's a high chance that they will haul, but you're just never going to know when they haul. So you kind of just have to keep them and just pray week to week. I remember what happened last season, right? Do you remember when Foden was getting caught with some like sort of naughty Instagram action with Grealish or whatever happened, and Foden was benched multiple weeks? I kept Foden in my team all that time, and then I think eventually he started one of the games and got something like 17 points, and I posted a tweet about how, you know, you've got to keep someone like Foden whilst they're naughty, because you'll finally get them when they're nice. Mark says put Grealish in lineup and put on bench March. No, I actually like March over Grealish, because I do think, look, Grealish has played a lot of games consistently. He is the starter for this team, but Real Madrid is a priority fixture. Whatever you want to say about it, like Pep's gonna say, okay, Leeds is like a game we have to prioritize, blah blah blah. But in reality, we have seen Pep bench players right before a prime UCL fixture time and time again. So if there's ever a week that I see Grealish being benched, it's this one. Ben says, do you think Mahrez or Foden is better long term? I think Mahrez better long term, Foden better short term. Blackstream says, I'm going to go with Salah captain. The minutes will surely be better. And the reason why I'm actually interested on Foden, though, is because I can easily just make moves out of him. I already have triple Newcastle on my team. I already have triple Brighton. I could actually roll next week. So there's no particular reason for me to go away from, or to actually force a transfer next week. So I could roll on 36, then therefore make a double 37 transfer. Let's see. So Blackstream says, I'm going to go with Salah captain. Yep. The minutes will 100% be better. Robert says, what's your thoughts on starting Solanke? I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a good game because Solanke is, you know, he's on penalties. He's versus Chelsea team that have been really poor as of late. And ultimately, a lot of us have a really poor defense to field this week, right? We're asking about Trippier versus Shaw because they're not particularly good games. I do expect, for example, West Ham to give Man United an absolute fighting chance. We know United aren't particularly good away from home, so it's tough. And even Arsenal, the same thing there with the attack. Marek says, is it worth to take Foden over Grealish? And now he'll be benched today, but in double game week, he'll probably get more minutes than Foden. This is what I'm trying to answer, right? I personally think that I'm going to roll on 36. So if I roll on 36, I can easily go out of Foden on 37. So that's my personal opinion. I think if it's very tough for you to make the right moves for Newcastle, because if you don't have triple Newcastle like me, then you probably have to make a move from 36. So you need to look at your team situation and probably ask yourself the same question. Because for me, I would say it's not a very tough move to move away from Foden on 37. But that's what I'm trying to say. Last time Haaland, 2 goals, but just 45 minutes. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm captaining Haaland if he starts, you know. Like, I don't care if he plays 45 minutes of football because he could score 3 in 45. Ali says, if Stone starts, get him for Botman and play instead of Shaw, then can get double new. Yep, that's a good move if Stone starts. Mustafa says, Foden or Mahrez to Grealish. I hope you mean the other way around. I'd probably say Mahrez is safer, but then Foden is the punt that I really like this week. Haaland starts. I mean, who's saying that? Who's giving us this leak? All right, well, it's not team news and ticks. And it's not leaked lineups, which is the same person. Meslier has been dropped. Is that a good thing for us Man City players? Right, this is absolutely dead news. I mean, Meslier getting dropped is potentially the worst City versus Leeds news possible. In that it's completely irrelevant. So, for example, I know Mode, you can see, has disagreeing opinions with me in terms of 37, but I think the difference is I've got Isak on 36, sorry. So I can't really see why I have to make moves. Therefore, I'm not so sad about the 1 week punt for Foden. And look at our man Flapjack here as well, who went who went for Rico Lewis as well last night. Madman. Ooh, all right. Fat news from Andy. Let's just retweet that. So Haaland starts, apparently. Interesting. All right, we'll keep it like that then. Let's just quickly go back to my team. This is my transfer ready page. So whenever the leaks come in, I'm ready to action. So Isak over Grealish to save the potential cameo. Yeah, exactly. I think so. I think I prefer Isak because I think higher chances that he will play. Raptor said Haaland starts. Yeah, I think Raptor and Andy have both said Haaland starts. Yep, Haaland starts. Scott Carson is starting. Now I think Ortega would start ahead of my man Ederson. Ebrock asking for Grealish. Look, personally, I don't have news on Grealish, so I'm actually waiting 7 minutes left until Team News and Text posts a bit of a leak for us. I mean, he could actually not provide enough information, right? Because we need to know about Foden, we need to know about Mahrez, we need to know about Grealish. Who's my captain? Good question. Right now, it's on Erling Braut, so we'll see. Grealish bench doesn't look very pretty, but when it becomes Foden, I probably need to change my bench order, right? I mean, okay, let me actually ask a question because I think this is super interesting. Do you guys prefer Isak or Wilson this week? And also, would you start Isak over Watkins? This is the one thing that's a major doubt in my mind, so I wouldn't mind if you guys actually provide some input for me. If Grealish doesn't start, then reckon Foden just slots in there. 100%, I agree. Because obviously there's simply no one else in this City team, arguably except for Bernardo Silva, who could literally play every position on the pitch. Not particularly well in left back, keep in mind, when he played for Saka, but he could plug in any single hole that Pep wants. But of course, yeah, Watkins over Isak, yeah. It's close though, very, very close. As a Leeds fan, I can't see Clayson being much better than Meslier. I think so as well. Like, I think Meslier is a decent shot stopper, but I wonder why he's been dropped. I haven't been watching Leeds too much lately. Do you think he's been making a lot of mistakes yourself, Ben? If Alvarez starts, would it be worth going Jota out, Alvarez in? I think so in your situation, because Jota doesn't seem to be someone that a lot of people have have confidence in starting. Nico likes Wilson as well. A couple people like Isak still, but it seems to be majorly Watkins favored, which is totally fine. Start Trippier or Shaw. I would actually say Shaw. I mean, United obviously have a little bit of a weirdly bad away record, but I mean, look, I just can't see what the upside for Trippier is not high this week, right? They're still versus a very, very good attack, so you're already almost imagining a situation where Trippier could get an assist on paper, but he'd still also struggle to keep his clean sheet. Whereas I think I've got a little bit more hope in United keeping a clean sheet, to be honest. You think Gakpo's a good option based on minutes? Yeah, I think so. I sort of mentioned on my cheat sheet, actually, that I think Gakpo is probably the second attacker I would go for in this Liverpool team. And I haven't wavered in my opinion there at all. So that's sort of how I see things. This is also a prime opportunity to bench Luis Diaz because he's actually started back-to-back games now. If Alvarez starts, should I transfer him in for Solanke and bench Grealish? It's an interesting question. I'd probably say no. Because one thing we have to think about too is when you bring in Alvarez, you need to think about what are your moves on Game Week 37, right? My moves, if I go for Grealish to Foden this week, is as such. I will probably think about Foden out into Fernandes or back into Grealish. That's a very simple one transfer move. However, if you go into Alvarez, right, and he's not a good transfer for game, or he's not predicted to start in Game Week 37, you've got KDB back, you've got Gundogan playing, you've got Haaland as well, then you've got to actually spend one transfer in the forward position, probably into someone like Greenwood, because there's not many good forward options on that week. And then you actually have to force two transfers, right? to get one of your better midfielders for City or one of your better midfielders for United. Or even when you look at United now, you could see them as a team where you wouldn't have a double up on defense. So I see 37 as being a week where I plan to focus my transfers on midfielders and defenders. And the fact that Foden is going to be a transfer out isn't an issue for me because he's a midfielder. If I had Alvarez in this week, then I'd have to think about wasting a transfer on Alvarez, and that could be a -4 because maybe I want to have better defenders, maybe I want to have better midfielders. So that's my concern there. Am I benching Grealish if he starts? No, I'm benching Isak if Grealish starts. He's a good keeper, just in really rough form. Yeah, exactly. I think Messi is a super young keeper. I mean, a lot of people project him to be a world-class goalkeeper. Maybe not world-class, but I mean, look, he's very young. He plays well on the ball. Maybe he's had bad form as of late. I haven't really, as I said, seen too much. Ultimately, I think Leeds have also just given away a horrendous amount of chances to people. So I don't really know if it's a case where he should be like solely criticized. I've also seen a lot of rotation within the defensive setup, right, for Leeds. Man, that Isak Watkins poll has actually ended up being so much closer than I could have envisioned. 51 to 49%. And if I keep it rolling, it's going to be 50-50. I think people are intentionally making it 50-50. But I'm going to end the poll there. Because I technically want to start Watkins, so I'm going to keep it like that. So RC says he might just roll in that case, make a better move next game week. I think so. So for me, the reason why I don't want to roll is because I already have triple Newcastle. So that's kind of how I feel like. Grealish not starting. Mate, where are you getting these leaks ahead of time? Is this Andy again? Is Andy cooking? Let's have a look at Let's Talk. Oh my god. This guy's... Andy is such a chef with these moves. What did I say, though? I totally have those leaks, right? Because I already had Grealish on the bench. Totally leaked. Grealish not in 11. Yep. No Grealish, guys. Grealish is benched. He's benched, and he's on my bench. And that's all you need to know. Wow, 11-5 is rolling. Interesting. This is so tough, though. Oh, Foden news time. I mean, it's got to be Foden starting, right? Oh, should I make the move? Should I make the move for Foden? I don't really want to bench Isak. Oh, this is terrible. Don't. Sorry, that's pretty ugly. Unfortunately, there was a curb stomp yesterday in one of the NBA games. All right, guys, we are going to camp out here on team news and... Oh, alarm, team news and ticks. Team news and ticks time. Refresh. Any leaks? Instagram. Sorry, my bad. Instagram. Where leak? Where's the leak? Come on, man. My livelihood depends on this, no? Just madly refreshing. Let's check Twitter. All right, let's just quickly check this person's... I mean, Madison's actually a pretty good differential this week. I rate that. Team news and ticks. Not on time with the news. Such a shame. All right, so I've got my transfers ready. Got team news and ticks ready. Are we getting any news? Embiid. Yeah, that was pretty ugly yesterday, so I hope you guys didn't see the curb stomp. Ederson starts. Diaz not starting. Where are you guys getting this news? Am I missing something? All right, let me refresh one of the other pages. Okay, the website has not yet crashed. Haaland's still captain. Grealish still bench. Team still looks pretty good. Where's the leak? Okay, let's see. Are you... Yeah, this guy's... Okay, man. I have to listen to this audio tape. De Bruyne starts? Are you joking? That's it. That's it. You're joking me. You're joking. Dude, okay, so De Bruyne starts is what I heard. That's it. All right, this is a joke. I had to hear some obnoxious meme noises just to hear that KDB starts. I'm depressed. All right, let me go back to someone who doesn't troll us for a living. Grealish is not in the starting XI today. Ederson starts. Team news and text trolling. KDB starts, Holland starts. That's it. My captaincy is correct. Do I go for the punt on Foden without knowing the news? I mean, what's gonna happen here? Is Cole Palmer gonna start? Is Sergio Gomez gonna start? No. So I think I might just go for the Grealish move. Should I go Grealish to Foden? I'm in pain, guys. I'm in pain. I think I'm going for Foden. Do we wait more minutes? We got 7 minutes left. Yeah, by the way, put your earphones in when you listen to that leaked tape, because not exactly good noise to be playing out loud. So there's no Foden confirmation. You're not gonna be you're not a serious manager if you play Cole Palmer ahead of Foden. Okay. I'm gonna have to think about this quite seriously. Should I go for Foden? You guys think it's a bad move? Do not click that. Roll the transfer. But what am I rolling for? That's the question. You go with Willock. Oh man, you're trolling me. Grealish to Bruno for free. Are you made out of money? Yeah, of course, yeah. That's actually a quite good move. Can't believe you have that money. Can't Bernardo start instead of him? All right, let's quickly think about this, right? How is Bernardo going to play on the pitch? All right, let's go to Fantasy Football Scout Luke, one of the absolute OGs when it comes to City predicted lineups. So this is how he predicts the team, right? So where can Bernardo play? Basically everywhere on the goddamn pitch. That's a problem. But I mean, Foden can play right wing or left wing. Alvarez is actually probably... Alvarez, I forgot about him. I mean, will Alvarez play 3 games in a row? Like, does Foden really deserve to be benched this much? Particularly when you're going to bench Grealish? You could play Bernardo Silva left wing, but like, it's never that good, no? He prefers Bernardo on the right. And if you don't like Mahrez, like if you don't think Mahrez belongs in the starting team, then you're probably going to play Mahrez Foden. Which I agree with on Luke here. I've got 4 minutes to make this decision. I'm getting panic attacks. Should I phone a friend? Phone a friend? Should we phone a friend? I'm going to phone a friend. I'm calling FPL Schadenfreude. If he's going to answer the line, roll a die. What does that mean, JM? Get Mahrez. But we don't even know if Mahrez is starting. Don't you think Isak is good enough? You know what, mate? You might just be right. Bro, who's your captain? It's Mr. Erling Haaland. Alright, my friend has absolutely aired me. This is a personal tragedy that I won't recover from. I want to try and get into the top 10k, right? Is Foden going to take me to the promised land? Am I really dismissing Isak? I mean, how bad can Arsenal be? Do we have any Gabriel Magalhaes news? Gabriel? All right, my friends rejected the call. I'm in the mud. Want to shed a tear. No Gabriel news. I don't think. People are rolling. This guy has KDB, which is beautiful. I don't have KDB, which is not so beautiful. Ederson starts. I've already got a great keeper. 2 minutes left to make this move. Roll, roll, roll. Oh, but what if Foden has a master? It's Leeds, though. It's Leeds. Isak, 100%. Less than 2 minutes. Do whatever you want to do now. Any news on Stones? Absolutely none. Sorry, mate. I apologize, but I have no news on him. These leaks are terrible, man. Terrible. Any additional leaks? No, of course not. All that to get KDB news. Come on. It's Arsenal, though. I mean, let's just quickly remind ourselves how Arsenal have been doing lately. Man, they've been conceding quite a bit, huh? All right, you only live once. You only live once, guys. Going Foden. Going Foden. Woo. All right, Isak bench. Foden in. Take a punt. You know, I'm not a leaker. I don't know any news. Don't go Foden. It's bad. Don't do drugs. But you know what? I'm gonna take a punt. I want to try get into top 10k. And yeah, I want to take a punt. So let's just quote tweet this. Foden in. YOLO. All right, make your moves, guys. Make your moves. KDB starts. Haaland starts. That's the news we got. Grealish bench. That's the news we got. I went for a Foden punt. This is life. Isak is on the bench. Not so pretty. But this is life. This is life. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Watkins is not on the bench. Isak is on the bench. I've gone Foden. Yep. That guy. It was a last minute move, but we had news, right? We have reason to believe that Foden will start. And if Foden is benched, you'll never see me again. No, I'm kidding. Went Mahrez, couldn't afford Foden, playing Isak over Watkins. YOLO. Yeah, good luck, guys, honestly. Good chance. Isak's. Okay, it's too late anyways. It's too late. Isak has been benched. I'm going to have to pray that Arsenal have the defensive performance of their lives and shut out Mr. Alexander Isak. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. That was stressful. I mean, I can't even explain to you how my sweat glands are doing right now. But, you know, like sometimes you just have to take some punts in life, right? So why not? Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will be there in 30 minutes when Foden, I don't know, does or does not start. You know, what is the alternative, right? Foden could be the worst transfer and he could be the worst player of my team this season. But you have to sort of just play your chances sometimes. I think Foden starting is a beautiful opportunity. Haaland starting probably takes away the penalties from Mahrez, so I'm kind of worried about that, right? So I don't see like the super high appeal of Mahrez, even if Mahrez starts. We have no inclination even as to whether Mahrez would start. We have, however, news that Grealish is benched, so highly likely that Foden will start. So why not just take a punt on Foden? Alvarez could play there on the left. Yes, that's true. But I think he actually prefers being on the right hand side, no? Like playing off from the right. Then again, yeah, I mean you're right. I mean he's pretty He's pretty nifty in both positions. But we'll see. We'll see. I just can't see how, if you want to rotate, you've played Alvarez 2 games in a row. Foden hasn't been horrendously poor this season. Why he wouldn't start? I mean, I could be wrong, and obviously, like, that's why I took a punt, right? But you know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If Isak scores like a madman and Watkins blanks, I'm wrong as well. But you know, I wanted to take the punt all week long. It was something that was set in my mind. He's the thumbnail of the team selection for a reason. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. It was technically a spelling correction, Dobber. You know, I have faith in your grammar. Let's be honest here. TQ says the Baldy might try something different to target Madrid's left side if it's the weakest. Man, that's a lot of Danny Carvajal slander, and I won't stand for it, even though he is completely washed. So you better watch out, TQ. But yeah, good luck to you guys this week. I'm going to probably end the live stream here. I don't know if Alvarez is benched. He probably is, to be honest. If KDB starts, think about it. Alvarez is likely to be benched. If Foden doesn't start, you know, I'm going to have to pray that he doesn't come on. But highly likely he's going to come on for a 10-minute cameo. I technically have shot myself in the foot if that's the case, but why not? Hope you guys have a wonderful time, and I will see you guys next week. All good.